right, we're on week 8 of our series on the Song of Songs called The Greatest Love Story Ever Told. And this week's lesson is called This Dark Night, Open Your Heart Deeper Still to Me. The bridegroom comes during the dark night and pleads with the bride to open her heart still deeper to him. I'm going to read Song of Songs, chapter 5, verse 2. The bride speaks, "After this, I let my devotion slumber, but my heart for him stayed awake. I had a dream. I dreamed of my beloved. He was coming to me in the darkness of the night. The melody of the man I love awakened me. I heard his knock at my heart's door as he pleaded with me." The bridegroom king speaks, "Arise, my love, and open your heart, my darling, deeper still to me. Will you receive me this dark night? There is no one else but you, my friend, my equal. I need you this night to arise and be with me. You are my pure and loyal dove, a perfect partner for me. My flawless one, will you arise? For my heaviness and tears are more than I can bear. I have spent myself for you through the dark night. If you remember the last message, last week that I spoke on this series was called, You Are My Paradise Garden. And it was a season in our lives where we're soaking in the love of Jesus. We're listening to the love of Jesus. We're gaining a deeper revelation of who we are and how he sees us. And we begin pouring that out on other people. We begin encouraging others. As we are encouraged in the love of Jesus and that he sees no flaw in us, that we're free from condemnation and shame and fear, we begin to share that with other people in our lives. And that was the season the bride was going through. And it said, the very last verse before this one, the bridegroom is saying, come and feed on my bride. She's receiving my love and she's delivering my love to others. And then the very next verse says, after this, I let my devotion slumber, but my heart for him stayed awake. After all of this, after this time of understanding, beginning to understand his love, I let my devotion slumber. And when was this time that the bride let her devotion slumber? In the darkness of the night. And in this word night in the Hebrew means time of adversity or a midnight season. Some negative circumstances begin to happen in our lives, in the bride's life, and she began to question again. She began to wonder where God is and is he faithful, and began to wrestle again with the lies of our soul that come at our soul during a dark time in our life, which is simply a trial, negative circumstance, a time when things aren't going exactly as we planned. And it's interesting to me that I have been reading a lot. Sometimes I don't know why the Lord's taking me here, but he has. And I've been reading, there's these people that I've been reading their stuff, and it's people who have went through a dark night in their walk. They used to believe in Jesus. They used to believe that he was their Savior. But they went through a dark night, which is a trial, a negative situation in their lives. And their prayers didn't get answered the way they wanted their prayers to get answered. And so now they don't believe in Jesus anymore. Every single time. I mean, I read one after the other. I've never even encountered people that like this before. And I don't know why the Lord's taking me there except for this series that I'm teaching. And all of a sudden, I realized in any of my dark seasons of my night, every dark season I went through, and I've went through many in my lifetime, really, what comes at me and what comes at all of us during these dark times is the temptation to feel condemned, the temptation to fear, and the temptation to wonder if even God exists. Has anybody ever wondered? Everybody's hand should be up because I know it's the lie that comes to everybody's heart. Does God even exist? Yes. These are lies of the enemy to get us to turn our focus away from the only salvation that we have in this world, which is Jesus, and begin to question even his existence. And so to me, it's amazing that really all of us, as I have read through Song of Songs so many times, I see everybody's story in it. Now, we all stop at some places in that story, and we stay there a long, long time, like, move away from me. And some people stay right there in that story until they take their last breath, which is sad. But they're broken and they're hurting, and they don't want nothing more to do with this God that they think has failed them. But every single story I read about people who have turned their hearts, their devotion away from Jesus, it was because they went through a dark season and they didn't feel like God answered their prayer the way they wanted it to be answered. 100% of the time, that is the reason why they turned their back on Jesus. Now, have you had those times in your life where it didn't turn out the way you prayed? Where it didn't look, you're going, how could this happen? I trusted you, God. How could this happen? And look at you, you're all sitting here still seeking to know him. Woohoo! Glory! Thank you, Jesus. I was thinking this morning about my dark seasons, and if you have listened to me very long, I talk about the struggles that I go through. But sometimes it's amazing to me that people will get the idea that I don't ever have a trouble, that I'm just somehow have this perfect life and never have a struggle and just float through life without any. I'm like, have you not listened to my teaching? I don't hide when I go through a struggle. I share it with the whole world. And I think the only thing that I can understand about that is I find my peace in Jesus anyway. Even when it doesn't turn out the way I hoped it would, I pray for somebody and instead of them getting well, they die. Instead of me turning my back on Jesus, I go, Jesus, help me see this from your perspective. Help me understand so that I can still trust you. And 100% of the time when that happens, he gives me a picture of them in heaven. And I go, how could I turn my back on someone who has prepared perfect peace and health and prosperity for everyone? Right? I mean, I don't understand why things don't always happen the way I want them to in this world. But I believe in a God who loves me and a God who loves you. I believe in a Jesus that brings me peace in the dark places of my heart when I'm struggling. I don't believe it because it's some doctrine somebody taught me. I believe it because it's my experience. I have experienced being full of fear and experiencing perfect peace. I have experienced living in condemnation and then feeling absolutely perfect and flawless in the Father's view and opinion of me and the freedom that brings my heart. I have lived in insecurity for years, and I have experienced the confidence that his love has brought to my soul. I know my Redeemer lives. I know he does. And it's not because my circumstances has always turned out or been like I wanted them to be. It's because he has always come to my heart and always brought me peace when I've let him, and always brought me confidence, and always brought me freedom from guilt and condemnation and shame 100% of the time. When I brought my heart to him and let his love wash over my soul, I come out free. That's why I know my Redeemer lives. Nobody can convince me otherwise. It's too late for Connie to turn her back on the only love and the only peace that I've ever found in this world. It's too late. It's just too late. So, I'm going to die holding on to the lover of my soul. And I'm going to live this life full of peace, full of joy, full of confidence, full of security, full of love for people. I'm going to live this life in the fullness of what God has for me. Because no matter what my circumstances look like, and no matter what dark season I go through, I know my Redeemer lives. Thank you, Jesus. Woo! So the bride is going through a dark night. And when she's in the middle of this dark night, she says, "The melody of the man I love awakened me. I heard his knock at my heart's door as he pleaded with me. Arise, my love, open your heart, my darling, deeper still to me. Will you receive me this dark night? Will you receive me during this time that you're going through a negative circumstance, a negative situation? Will you receive me?" He's pleading with you. In all of your dark seasons of your life, Jesus is pleading with you to receive him. There is no one else but you, my friend, my equal. I need you to listen to me this dark night. Because let me tell you again, let me just run through with you real quick. I have went through a teenage pregnancy that caused me a lot of guilt and shame. I went through a marriage, 7 years of a marriage struggle where I wanted to kill my husband. No, not really. I'm not a murderer, but felt like I wanted to. I have went through times when my children have made major mistakes and has caused me trouble. I have went through times when I've prayed for somebody to be healed and they've died. I've went through financial struggles. I've went through friends betraying me. I've went through people misjudging me. I have went through my husband going through a deep depression. I have went through some dark seasons of my life. I have been in the middle of a midnight season. Okay? And every single time Jesus comes to me. And every single time he pleads with me to believe what he says. Now I have the choice whether I receive him or whether I go away for another time. But every time, whether it's spoken through my mama or a friend or my husband or a pastor or whether it's coming in my own heart, he's speaking to me. And you all know it's true. He reaches out to you in your dark time, in that time of when you're struggling with your marriage, your financial struggles, or you're dealing with sickness in your body, or the death of a loved one, or all the things that life brings us. Jesus said, in this world, you will have trials, distress, and frustration, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. You are an overcomer because the overcomer lives in you. So no matter what life throws at us, Jesus overcame this for us. And let me tell you again, the number one thing, well, actually two things that come to you, but the first one is the most powerful lie that tries to come at you in every dark moment of your life is condemnation. What is wrong with me? What have I done wrong? Now, I just listed several dark times that I went through, and some of them were my fault. Some of my dark seasons were because of my poor decisions, okay? All right, some of them had nothing to do with what I did wrong. Somebody else was causing me this trouble. Okay? So sometimes our trouble is because of a mistake we've made, a decision we've made. Sometimes it's just trouble because we live in this world. Okay? My husband lost his job, a really good job. That was another dark moment in my season of my life. Every single time the question comes, did I do something wrong? Did I miss it? The second one is fear tries to grip your heart. Condemnation and fear. And then thirdly, you begin to question God himself. Okay? You can write it down. It happens like that every single time. Condemnation, fear, and God, can I even trust you anymore? Look what you did. Look what you let happen. And the thing is, it's like people try to come up with all these doctrines as to why bad things happen in the world, you know. Is God punishing you? No, he's not. You know, but people think that. Is God punishing me? Right? Why isn't he helping me? We have all these questions that come at us in our dark moments. And Jesus comes to us and he pleads with us. And the thing that stood out to me really big in this verse, it says, I need you in this time, in this dark moment of your life. I need you to arise and be with me. And then he says this. I love this, and I want you to understand this. He says, my darling, he reminds you again who you are. He says, my darling, my pure and loyal dove. Now, this is the amazing thing. We just let our devotion slumber. We're kind of in a moment of feeling condemned, not sure what God says is true. Our circumstances are making us question, and he calls us his loyal dove. He's like, listen to me. I need you to listen to me. You are my loyal dove. You are purely devoted to me. Now, she had just said, I let my devotion slumber. Now I'm questioning everything. And Jesus says, I need you to listen to me. You are my loyal dove, my flawless one. Remember the thing that tries to come at your heart when you're in a dark place? What's wrong with me? And Jesus is reminding you, he's asking you, I need you to listen to me. There is nothing wrong with you. You know, the other day I was talking to one of my daughters. She was going through a struggle. And I was telling her in this desperation, just this passionate way, you are beautiful. You are wonderful. I need you to listen to me. And I was having that conversation with her, and then I was talking with some friends, and Shannon, my friend Shannon, brought up that when we were talking about this particular part, how that's just like when we say to our friend or our child, I need you to listen to me. What does Jesus need? He needs nothing. He needs you to listen to because he loves you so much, and he doesn't want you to go in a dark hole. And so he's pleading with you, and he's saying, my bride, I need you to listen to me when you're walking through this dark season in your life, and I need you to hear that you are my loyal dove, my flawless one. There is nothing wrong with you. Even if it's your fault that you're in the mess. Jesus is saying, there is no fault in you. I need you to believe me, because until you do, you're going to stay in a dark place. Guilt and condemnation and shame will kill you. And so Jesus is passionately, the lover of your soul, wanting you to rise and be with him. I need you to listen to me. I need you to remember who you are. I need you to believe what I say. I don't want you covered up in condemnation and shame and fear. When I spent myself for you, this is the next thing he says in this. He says, my flawless one, will you arise? For my heaviness and tears are more than I can bear. I have spent myself for you through the dark night. Now he's talking about his own dark night. I spent myself for you. He says, I paid myself for you so that you don't have to live in shame. You don't have to live in guilt and condemnation. I laid my life down for you so you could live free in the midst of a negative situation, so that you didn't have to feel guilty and ashamed and condemned when you make a mistake. I spent myself for you. I paid for you with my own blood through the dark night. He's saying, I had my own dark night. I had my own travail of my soul. I looked at the price that was going to cost me to buy you, and I said, you were worth it. And what he spent, and I am telling you this I need you, listen to me. This is Connie Witter speaking right now. I need you to listen to me. Jesus paid a great price for you in the middle of your dark season to live free from fear and shame and condemnation and guilt. He spent himself for you, so that in the middle of your trial, you could have perfect peace, knowing that you are married to the overcoming King. And you're not staying here. I listed all those things to you that I've went through. Am I still going through them? No. My overcoming King brought me through every single time. I got some woohoos shut up in my bones this morning. But in the middle of any of them, I could have said, done with you. The darkest season of my life, and I shared this in another series, was my husband going through a depression for about a year, a dark, suicidal depression. This was right after I had written Because of Jesus, the first Bible study, and I had taught it. Right after I finished the series, my husband went into a dark, deep depression. In the middle of and I prayed for him. I spoke over him. I asked Jesus, what's going on here? Have you left us? Where are you? I had so many thoughts of walking away from him, walking away from God, walking away from everything during that time. But Jesus held on to me, and I held on to him. And I can remember, and we'll go down through the story as I read through this passage of Scripture in the Song of Songs, I'm like, oh my goodness, I have been here. I have been in this dark place. And Jesus, every day I had to decide, remember, every day we decide if we're going to say yes to Jesus. And every day I had to decide, Jesus, you are our Redeemer. Jesus, you are my deliverer. Jesus, you are our healer. Jesus, you will rescue us. You will bring us out. I know you will. I don't understand why it's taking so long. But I know that you promised me that you would deliver us out of all our trouble. And he did. He did, and he did it gloriously. But do you see what I'm saying? It's in the middle of those dark moments, those dark seasons, when you don't understand what God is doing or why why this is happening. And one thing you got to know is do not be deceived. This is James 1, 16 and 17. Do not be deceived, my dear sisters and brothers. Every good and perfect gift comes from the Father. If it's not good and if it's not perfect, it's not from the Father. It's just we live in this world and sometimes we go through things we don't understand, but He's our answer. He's our rescuer. He's our deliverer. I mean, have you not been watching the prince and princess stories where the princess always gets herself in a mess and the prince always comes and rescues her and gets her out of her mess? I mean, how many stories have we seen that? How many? It's the story of the gospel. I mean, princess gets herself in a mess or something just happens. The evil person's trying to destroy her. And the prince comes and rescues his bride. That's the story of the gospel. So just remember, you have a prince that is rescuing you as many times as you need to be rescued in this world we live in. He will rescue you.
Awake to righteousness. You are qualified, innocent, forgiven, accepted, approved, and loved. Join Connie Witter as the journey through the book of Romans continues in Awake to Righteousness Volume 2 and be empowered by grace to live a righteous life. Available now. Awake to Righteousness Volumes 1 and 2. Also available as a group Bible study package. Call 918-994-6500 or visit conniewitter.com to order or download your copy today.
Because of Jesus Ministries introduces our first children's storybook, Are You a Chickenhead? By Connie Witter. This fun little book asks the big life question, what's true about you?
Mommy, that girl called me a chickenhead.
Is that true, Victoria? Are you a chickenhead? What does Jesus say about you? For many years, I have shared this true story to encourage others to believe what Jesus says about them. I pray this book will inspire parents, grandparents, and children alike to confidently respond.
I believe what Jesus says about me.
Order this delightful book today. Call 918-994-6500 or go online at becauseofjesus.com, where Bible studies are always in the light of Jesus.
Because of Jesus Ministries is your resource for grace-filled, Jesus-focused Bible studies and curriculum for all ages. Adult Bible studies, books, devotionals for girls and teens, DVDs, CDs, and MP3s. We offer group Bible study packages as well. Connect with us and check out our many free resources online at conniewitter.com, where Bible studies are always in the light of Jesus.